All right, folks, let's get started. Can you guys use the question or chat box to let me know you can hear my audio? Just to check here. All right, so I got confirmation. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, our webinar for today is going to go through understanding categories and calendars. So categories and calendars are an extremely important part of all of your online content. We've also updated a large chunk of our calendar, our admin reservations events calendar. So we have a lot more features we want to show you, but it's, excuse me, it's also really important how you present your events, how you organize your events. So it's nice and easy for people to come to your website, find what they want, quickly register and pay. We all know when you go online, people have short attention spans. They'll find something else to do. So you always want to make sure that you can present your events, your fundraisers, any of your calendar activities in a quick, concise, clean, easy layout so people can find what they want and make a registration. So that's what categories and we think our updates to the calendar have really done. So this will be a pretty quick webinar. We're going to go through, some concepts with categories, how they apply to the calendar, how you can utilize some of the new features, and then we'll go through any questions that you have. So you guys can use that question chat box as I go through. I'll keep an eye on it every minute, every couple minutes, and I'll make sure to stop and then go through any questions that you guys have. Okay. So what we're going to start with is categories. We're going to talk about event categories, facility categories, upsell categories, and category URLs. All things categories and how they work in the application. And then we'll look at some real life examples, some of our current clients that are really utilizing categories in a great way. The next part, we're just going to go through calendars. So we're going to show you the calendar URL, what the new calendar looks like. Talk about adding events to calendars, how you display them, hidden or displayed. We're going to talk about color coding events on the calendar, assigning events to categories, the two ways you can do that. We're going to go through the admin reservations and events calendar, which shows really, it's kind of an overview of everything happening within your organization. And then we're going to talk about calendar list and the download of the calendar, which is a new feature that we've recently added. So as I go through today, we're going to be in our test environment. I have a test organization set up. It's called City Museum. It's just a fake organization that we have for tests. So I'm going to go through that. We're going to use that kind of as our example today. So categories, event categories. So in Doubleknot, as you can see my page here, I'm on the feature list of this City Museum organization. Pretty basic. If I go to event management, this is where all of my events, my facilities, my programs, they all live within event management. So categories really can be used for both administrators and end users. Really for administrators, it's really two main purposes. When you come to event management, you can sort by your categories that you have here. You also can run reports by category. So you can say up to the right-hand corner, click Report Multiple, and you can choose by category how you run your reports. I want to look at all my science camp, everything in my science camp category. So that's really how you guys or administrators use categories. I like to think categories are more for the end user, and I'll show you how that works in just one moment. So where do we build all these categories? If I go to event management and I go to utilities, if I go to the middle left-hand side, there's a heading for event categories. So I can say manage categories, and here's where I can build or add as many categories as I want. So if I pull this, excuse me one second, let me get this out of my way. If I come here, I can say I can add as many categories as I need. If I click add category, then okay. what you'll see is a description, which is just a name of my category. So I can say science camp, ages 6 to 8. Admin use only means it's a hidden category. So if you guys wanted to build events that you wanted to have them built in Doubleknot, but you didn't want them to appear in a category dropdown, you could say yes, and that would make it a hidden category. This is also where facility categories come into play. Now, not all of our organizations use facilities, but facilities is our reservations module. So off-season camp rentals, conference room rental, field trips, birthday party space rental. And a lot of times in the facilities module, you want hidden assets or a hidden category. So if I have something where, I want to rent my space, I want to rent the cabin, but this cabin's really for special use. I want to be able to rent it on the back end, but I don't want it to be front facing to my customers or to my troop leaders or to my parents, whatever it is. I can flip this to yes, and then anything within this category is not available to the public. It's a hidden category. And that's really where the facilities come in. It's used mostly in our reservations module, not so much on the event side. Category image, you're not going to use this too much in event management. Category images are more for on the store side. If you're using the Doubleknot online store, you can upload images of a category, t-shirts, merchandise, supplies, patches. You can upload like a category image. And simply all you would do after you give it a description, set your admin use to yes or no, you just click save. And then that becomes a category for you to assign. So how do you assign events to categories? So there's really two ways. I can, at any time, come to utilities and say, assign events to categories. And I can do a big sweep. I can take any category I want. I could say my science camp, ages 6 to 8. And I can come here and assign any of my events. I can use control, and I can use command. I can pick multiple ones and add them. I can just highlight as many as I need and add them to any category I select. So I can say, okay, kids camp 3 to 5, dino camp is in there. What's in science camp? Basic science camp 1. Okay, all these are in science camp. So I can manage my categories at this level under utilities. I can also manage categories when I build an event. So if I go to calendar activities and I go build a new calendar activity, for example, I have three category dropdowns. So you can assign an event in up to 3 different categories. So I can come here and pick and choose any category I want up to 3. Now the benefit of that is that how you display these. And this will become more clear in a moment. I show you some real life examples. But on the calendar, which we'll look at together, you can sort by category. So you could have, in the scouting world, you could have adult training. You could have Cub Camp events, Boy Scout events. In the Girl Scout world, you could have it by level. You could have Daisy category, Brownie category, multi-level category. In the museum space or science center or nature center, you could have age groups could be your categories. You could have hiking events. Then you could have another category for the specific age level of hiking event or camp event. So it allows you to build multiple levels of events and then organize your events according to those levels. Let's see. If you click admin only for a category, can non-admins still click on and see category URL? The only person that could see a category URL is an administrator. So you'd have to log into the application to find the category URL. If you took the category URL and put it on the website, it would be public. So it doesn't like disable the category. Admin only doesn't disable the category URL. Really, admin only is more used for, you don't want it to appear on the calendar, the Doubleknot calendar URL, and you don't want it on the facility reservation side. You don't want it to appear on the drop down for people to select to view assets under that category. The URL would still work if it was posted. So I can, again, select up to 3 categories for each event that I want to display. You'll also see here upsell category. So you can upsell events in Doubleknot. So if I'm building, say, a camp event, I want to upsell maybe family events. So I could build a category called family events. And what this does upsell is when I'm done registering or right before I make a payment, the system will prompt the user to say, hey, you may be interested in, and it will list any events that are in this category that you set under upsell. So it's a really good way to get people to become aware and then hopefully register for other event types that you have built. We also see this used to sell like camp merchandise. So on the scouting side, we see, buy, there could be a link to a category called camp care packages or camp patches. And that can be a separate event where that's in a category. And then you can upsell that as part of registration. So if you're taking your daughter to some camp, you can upsell care packages. And the reason you would upsell it is that those care packages are probably merchandise that have a separate financial account, so you want them in a separate event. So you can actually upsell care packages, camping items, patches, anything relevant to that event. So you can use it, again, to upsell merchandise or upsell actual events that are in the future that you think would be something that they would be interested in as they register for a certain event type. If you guys want more information on like camp care packages or using upsells, email into support with what you're thinking, and we will get back to you with that. Can you upsell a facility category in a calendar event? No, you can't upsell a facility category. Oh, you could, but it wouldn't. It would display what events were in that category. It's not going to go to the facilities module. What people normally do for that, which I'll show you an example, some real life examples that we have, is they'll put it in their header, links to all their Doubleknot content. And I have some Girl Scout councils that do that really well, that I'll kind of show you what they're doing there. So we have upsell category 1, 2, and 3. So you can really build out how you really want to organize all these events using categories. So what does all this look like? So what I want to do is kind of show you some clients that I've seen that I think are using categories very well. So let me pull that up. One moment here. And then pull this one up. Okay, so let me show you what I'm going to show you guys is actually a category URL. So if I go to, you'll see my page now. This is a Girl Scouts of Orange County page. And so what they do here, which I think is really good, is they link to all their Doubleknot content in their header using category URLs and facility URLs. So what you're looking at right here, this URL, is a category URL. And if I want to access that URL, all you have to do is when you log into the application, if you go to Event Management, in the same spot where I built my categories, under Utilities, under Manage Categories, if I take my Science Camp category and I say Modify, you'll see a category URL. So what I'm looking at on that Girl Scout page is it's not this specific category, but a category URL. If I go to that, you'll see it just lists all my events in that category. So it lists, here's my Science for Kids Camp Week 1, my Dino Camps, any event that I have in that category. So what you're looking at here on this Girl Scout website is actually a day camp category. And while they're in here, they can register for this event. And then in the header, you'll see they have links to all their other Doubleknot content. And the reason I point this out is that they keep people in the Doubleknot environment. So when someone goes to register for a single event, this header always displays. If they send them to a category URL from the website, so from your website, you say, interested in Boy Scout summer camp, register here. They go to summer camp week 1, but in the header, there's links to all only Doubleknot content, meaning they maintain their shopping cart, and it encourages them to navigate to other items that they can register and pay for. So all these items here are really Doubleknot content that people can add to their shopping cart and purchase and check out at one time. Nice and easy to navigate. They can register, add things to their cart. They even have an online store up here. So this is really what we try to encourage people to do, is really use those categories. So I can toggle here to program centers. So I can say, okay, here's a program center. I can do a facility reservation. I can go to summer resident camp. I can register for any of these different events within one shopping cart. So it allows me to toggle between really any of these different categories. So these drop downs are drop down menus, and these are just linked to all those facility reservations and then event types in Doubleknot. So I'd like to show that because I think that's a really worthwhile example of how categories work and how to apply them in real life. They don't have a link to the calendar, but that's what we'll get to next. But you could also link to like your Doubleknot calendar here if people wanted to view this in a calendar view. Okay, so that was kind of my spiel on categories and how those work and kind of how to best apply those. Let's kind of move on to the actual calendar side. So I'm going to get out of here real quick and go back to my account here where I'm logged in as an administrator. Okay, so the calendars. So calendars and categories do kind of go hand in hand because they do overlap and they do apply to each other. Oh, looks like we have a question here. How do we add them to the header? Okay, good question. So how do you add those items to a header in Doubleknot? So wasn't going to go there, Angie, but that's a good question. So in Doubleknot, we have a tool called SiteBrander. And SiteBrander is our website building tool. You can build a full-on website in Doubleknot. You know, not all of our clients do that. I'd actually probably say about half our clients, maybe a little less, have their websites on Doubleknot, but they build them through our tool called SiteBrander. But you can also build menu items in your header through SiteBrander. So if you want to, if you guys want to know how to build those header items, I'll give you a brief kind of overview now, and then Angie and whomever else wants more information on that, we can email into support, and we can set up a time to walk you through it. It's real quick and easy. If I go to event management, I have utilities, right? We've talked about categories obviously quite a bit here. If I go to science camp and I modify, I can always have my category URL. So I can copy this URL. If I go back to the feature list and select SiteBrander, again, this is where I build websites. You don't need to worry about that. What you can do is actually build menu items. So you can say, and again, if you guys want to do this in more detail, we'll do that. You can say new page, and I want to say menu item without content. And I can say, I can build a title here that says event registration. Sorry, I'm going to pull this back. And this header here, I can say, this is the title. I want to say add. And what I can then do is build menu items underneath that. So I can say new menu, I can say new page, menu item to URL. And what it allows me to do then is say, I can say science camp. And I can say the link is underneath my event registration header item. And then I can put a link to my category URL and then build a drop-down menu, which it will build out. Here's event. See, it shows up poorly in this header. It would show up underneath your drop-down, Science Camp right there. And then I can go, if I click on Science Camp, it takes me to that Science Camp URL. Obviously, this header doesn't look good in this header. We'd have to modify a little the style sheet. But you can build drop-downs like that in SiteBrander. And again, Angie, if you want more details on that, contact support, and we can just have a quick phone call, or anyone else, we can have a quick phone call and kind of walk you through that. So someone asked, is this what our users would see when they log in? So I'm not sure what exactly you refer to as log in. Your users wouldn't see, nothing I've showed you today, your users would see upon login. So this page I'm looking at right now is what your administrators see, if that's what you mean. But nothing I've showed you for your end users, your customers, is hidden behind a login that I've showed you today. So if I'm not being clear, let me know, or if you have a further question, let me know, Amanda. So I'm just going to delete these out real quick before we jump into calendars. Okay, so let's talk about calendars. So Doubleknot allows you, when you build an event, to assign events to a calendar. So what is the Doubleknot calendar? If you log into the application, under the feature list, you always have this, under administrator, you have organization URLs. So if you click organization URLs, these URLs go to all of your Doubleknot content. You have calendar, event list, event search, e-list, facility calendars, forums, library, all that good stuff. We're concerned right now about this calendar URL. So if I click copy or go to this URL, you can take this URL and place this on your website, of that link from your website, whether it's hosted on Doubleknot or not, and you can actually link to that calendar. You can have a header that says events calendar, and it lands on this page. And you'll see it has links to all of your events in Doubleknot. So people can view events. They hover over, it says, here's Dino Camp Week 1, the 14th to the 18th. If I click on it, it will go to the event details page. This one, the last date of registration is passed, but if it was open for registration, they could register. If it's not open, they can still view the details and see when registration begins and when it ends. They can add it to their own calendar. They can share the event. So they have all those options from the calendar. Now, how do you add events to this calendar? So when you build any event in Doubleknot, whether it's a program, a calendar activity, or a dues, you can designate whether that appears on the calendar or not. So if I say new calendar activity, anytime I build an event, there's two things that dictate whether it shows in the calendar. Display, I can say by default, it always sets to display. But if I want to, I can say do not display on calendar. So for whatever reason, I don't want this to appear. Maybe I'm still adjusting the setup. Maybe I want to send the URL to people to get preferential treatment and register for the event before the public, whatever it may be. You can always hide it from the calendar. You also control that with test mode. So if I turn test mode on, by default, the event does not appear on the calendar. So it's always going to be hidden from the calendar if you turn test mode on. So these two items really control whether or not an item is displayed on the calendar. Looks like we have a couple more questions here. Can the SiteBrander be used to customize the tabs our users see when they log in? No, those tabs are not customizable through SiteBrander. But if you have a question, Amanda, about what you're trying to do there, email in support. I might have another solution. But you can't customize those tabs the end users see. There is some advanced options, again, Amanda, for updating menus in Doubleknot, like the actual styles. So if you're interested in that, email support at Doubleknot and say I'm interested in learning more about updating buttons and style sheets, and we'll let you know. That's kind of a big undertaking, but it can be done. If you're interested, let us know. Okay, so next thing I want to talk about here is we've talked about the calendar URL, adding events to the calendar. Let's talk about the color coding of events. So I want to take a look at a few events that I already have built out here. So if I go to my science camp category under current and future, I'm going to go to my Science for Kids week 1, and I'm going to edit this event. You'll see that my event here is display in public calendar. It is test mode is off, but I also have a display color. So you guys can not only set categories for people to sort on the calendar, but also you can set colors. So if you have certain categories that have certain colors, or maybe you just want to separate the content of that month, you can actually select a color for that to display on the calendar. So if I go back here to my calendar URL, go to organizations URL, and I say copy to clipboard, and I say show me this calendar. You'll see that these are color coded by how I set those on the event level. So you can actually color code these events. It's nice. It kind of separates the different event types. We didn't do it by category because there could be a lot of events in the same category on the same month. So we allow you to, even though these could be in the same category, they can have different colors. So you can kind of look at a month and say, how do I have to divide this up so they don't look so crazy and busy? You'll see on the top here, I can sort these. Again, this is where the category shows up. So I don't, not just by color, but I can say, I just want to see kids camp ages 3 to 5 because I have a 3 to 5-year-old. I don't care about anything else. You can come here and just view events in that category. Or you can say, I want to see all my science camp events. And it'll bring back all the events within that category. If you have sub-organizations, your sub-organizations can also have calendars. So you can have your top level org, and then like in the Boy Scout world, you can have your districts. In museum world, you could have education, you could have fundraising, you could have all your different orgs with different calendars if you want to use them like that. Now, if you want everything on one calendar, you can do that as well. So we have a function where maybe you like having sub-organizations, but you really want everything to show up on one calendar. You can do that under utilities at your top level organization in event management. There's an event configuration setting, and you can set these differently. So you can say, show all events in all organization, display the org names, show all events in organization, hide the org names. So if you wanted just City Museum, or Girl Scout Council A, Boy Scout Council B, Nature Center, whatever it is, as your top level organization with everything on it, you can set it to this setting, and then everything is on one calendar and there's no clicking. So you can toggle and play with these settings to see how you want to display your content, but it allows you to kind of simplify it, I guess you could say, and have one calendar, even though you have suborgs that have kind of multiple content layered across them. So SiteBrander is only if we have a website built by you? No, SiteBrander is also for if you want to add header items within Doubleknot. So regardless of whether you host your website with Doubleknot, Doubleknot is always branded like your organization. Like you see here, this is City Museum up here, right? If I go to another client like Rosicrucian Egyptian Museum, this is going to be branded like Doubleknot. So if I go to like a donation, for example, you'll see when I click make a donation, this is going to jump to Doubleknot as soon as I click this. But you'll notice that the header is still here. So this is branded like their website, but you'll see this is on Doubleknot. This is actually a Doubleknot page. But we use SiteBrander to brand this page. Their whole website isn't on Doubleknot, but all of these links and all of this header is all within the Doubleknot applications, and we use SiteBrander for that. So it's not just if you're building your website. Are there plans to bring other colors back? I think we've had that request, Maria, and I think that one of our support guys, Brooks or Danilo, actually passed that along. I don't know if they're going to expand it yet. I don't know the answer to that. If we have two separate calendars, can we get the link to the second calendar? Absolutely. So if you go to the feature list page, you have this org selection at the top. So if I choose, like this one has birthday parties, if I wanted the birthday party URL, all you have to do is change that URL here, change the organization here, excuse me, to birthday parties, and then go to organization URLs. And that by default will then paste in the org key of that URL. So you see on the end of these URLs, it says 2671 right here. That's the birthday party, what we call the org key. And you change that by going to feature list and then toggling. So it will change once you switch the organizations here. Let's see. Let's see here. So yeah, Amanda, that site. So Amanda's asking about SiteBrander and these tabs. So I think Amanda, if I click my account in the upper right hand corner, Amanda's asking about these tabs. So these are not set in SiteBrander. You cannot edit these tabs in SiteBrander. When I say edit in SiteBrander, I'm referring to header menu items. So back to this page, if I click make a donation, now I'm in the Doubleknot environment. And when I say in SiteBrander, you edit these items in the header. You can edit any of these header items that appear. You can edit in SiteBrander. You cannot edit these tabs. These are not something you would edit in SiteBrander. We do have options where you can build style sheets and change the look of some Doubleknot buttons and configuration. That is a possibility, and if you want information on that, you can email support. We can dive into more details then. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the admin reservations and events calendar, which is a great tool that we have that I'm not sure how many people are really utilizing it. So if I I'm on the feature list here, and if I go to organization URLs, so organization URLs, back here again, I'm gonna skip over the calendar. Actually, one thing I do want to show you on the calendar before I move off is the download. So in the upper right-hand corner, I can go to list view, and that's a new view that lists the calendar, not on the grid view, but an actual list view of the calendar. Also, there is a print and an export as CSV. So this is a big request we got. People want to export the calendar and download it into their Outlook or iCal, and you can do that now, saying export as calendar. So you can do that, or you can export it as CSV. So we have that functionality now built in. So if you guys want to do that, you can download those calendars at any time. Okay, now let's go to the admin reservations events calendar. So I'm going to go back to organization URLs, and I'm going to select the admin reservations and events calendar URL. So this URL lists multiple things. It's kind of like what's happening at my organization today or this month or this week. What this does is this shows you all your events, all your reservations, and all your blackouts. So when I say reservations, I mean like facility reservations. So if you're in the scouting world, either Boy Scout or Girl Scouts, it will list your off-season camp rentals. What cabins are rented this weekend? Who's renting the archery range? If you're a museum or a nature center or a zoo, it can be what field trips are happening, who's renting, what birthday parties are happening this week. Any kind of reservations, if you're renting equipment, all your reservations will appear on this calendar. You also, as I said before, can show your blackouts. So you can say, okay, I want to show my at the top of this dropdown. I can say, show me my reservations and my blackouts. So I can say, okay, what's happening here? It says room is under construction. So the Dino birthday party 1 to 3 is not available that week because the room is under construction. So I can show not only my reservations, my middle school field trip by Marge Simpson, I can actually show my blackouts. So I can see a complete overview of what's happening. Okay, I got this party by David Ellis. He booked this weekday kids art party. In addition to reservations and blackouts, I can say, show me everything. I want to see my calendar events, I want to see my blackouts, and I want to see my reservations. So this can show you big picture what's going on. So this is really all of your Doubleknot reservations, registration events, and blackouts. So this is a very good tool. If you're using Doubleknot for reservations and events, you really should be utilizing this calendar because it just gives you that full picture of what's going on during that given period of time. Someone asked a question, are categories the new groups? No, categories have always been in place and they're separate from groups. Groups are really used to, e-lists groups are used to organize constituents. And then when you have group information in a registration, that's when you collect kind of when one person's in charge of a group registration. So like a teacher or a school administrator in charge of a field trip, a Boy Scout leader in charge of a summer camp, that kind of a thing. That's the in Doubleknot. That's what groups are. Categories have been around. We've just expanded how they're used, or trying to encourage people to expand how they're used. How did you get to the admin calendar view? Okay, let's go back. So if I log into the application, I'm going to always land on the feature list page here. So if you go down under administer, you're going to go to organization URLs, and you will see the URL for admin reservation and events calendar. So it's right here. We also have it in a list view. So if you're interested, you don't want the calendar, you want a list view, you can do that too. But this is that URL. You can bookmark this if you want, and you can go to it and just one click in your bookmarks, or you can just have it, in organization URLs. And then at the top, you can basically choose your organization. You can say all organizations. You can divide it by category if you wanted to. So you can say, I just want to see my birthday parties. I just want to see lodge rentals, just conference room rentals, just just program rentals. You can really break it down by category. Most of the time, people kind of want to see a big overview. You can say all reservations and blackouts, all reservations, blackouts, and calendar activities, or just all reservations and calendar activities. And it'll break up and then show your content like that. So that's kind of what I wanted to show you guys with the categories and calendars. Please, if you guys are interested in utilizing any of these features further and you have questions, do not hesitate to call us or shoot us an email. Tell us, I'm thinking about doing this. Can you guys assist me in setting up these categories? Or how would you go about this? Or do you have an example of how someone's using categories? If you need help with SiteBrand, organizing those drop-down menus, don't hesitate to get a hold of us. It's so important that you present your events in a way that are easy to navigate and that don't cause any hiccups. Again, I said it in the beginning, but people have shorter and shorter attention spans these days, and people find other things to do. I'm sure as you guys have got yourself, you click on a video to watch and there's an ad, you close it. You're searching for an event, it's too hard to find, you find something else to do. So we always encourage people, utilize these categories, utilize the calendar, really think about user experience, someone coming to your website, how quick and how many clicks does it take to access an event registration? So important, so crucial nowadays with how people use the web is to make things easy and quick and well organized. And the new calendar and utilizing categories in Doubleknot really helps that. Thank you guys for attending. Again, any questions, please don't hesitate to email or call into support. We'll be more than happy to give you advice, point you in the right direction, and help you set some stuff up. Thank you guys.